Like, if I could have chosen to be born anywhere in the world, it would have been China.
China built the world's tallest bridge in under 4 years. You see this shit right here? That's a restaurant. There's a fucking restaurant on this. 2,051 feet tall. How much would you think that would cost in American dollars? Couple billion, right? They did it for under 400 mil. Yeah. We don't have infrastructure projects here in the US. You know what we have? The same fucking street where I grew up is still under construction 5 years later.
Holy shit. A one-of-a-kind marvel that has set the world on fire. China's extravagant dream project with a whopping price tag of $79.8 billion has taken the world by storm. Once completed, it claimed the coveted title of the world's foremost wonder, the Beijing-Daxing International Airport. Countless people couldn't believe their eyes when they saw it.
Making Chinese engineers just stabilize the Hyperloop. You know, the super fast transportation technology that the US gave up on because Musk couldn't deliver.
This is one of the greatest failures of American physics, which is probably dramatic, but there is a $21 billion worth hole in Waxahachie, Texas that was supposed to be the site of the world's largest particle accelerator, the superconducting Super Collide.
It's gotta feel good to be Chinese right now. Like, they've gotta feel exactly as good as it feels bad to be an American with a functioning brain right now. They are like on the exact opposite trajectory as the United States. Like, we've just been on this rapid decline my entire life, and then they've been on this upswing for the entire time as well.
There's something almost surreal about watching China build. Cities rise from dust in months. Bridges stretch across oceans. Skyscrapers touch the clouds before you can even blink. It feels like watching the future unfold in real time, and yet it's all happening now. When I first saw a time-lapse of an entire 30-story hotel being built in just 15 days in Changsha, I couldn't believe it. How could something that would take years in America be done in weeks in China? And then it hit me. China doesn't just build fast. It builds differently. While other nations are still stuck in endless approvals, budget debates, and lawsuits, China is already breaking ground on its next mega project. So, how does China do it? How did it become the global capital of speed, precision, and innovation, while the rest of the world, especially America, can't seem to finish even one major project on time? Let's dive into the story behind the nation that builds the impossible and the lessons the world should be learning from it.
China has 26,000 miles of high-speed rail. The United States has...
I want to give a bit of context because it's not just the length of your rail, it's how you use it, right? Anyways, go back and check out this guy's video. It's a really great response to a pretty asinine comment about why the US can't have high-speed rail because it's too big of a country. And this guy goes through the reasons why it could have high-speed rail, why it has had rail in the past, and compares it to China, and the sizes are pretty much the same. I used to live and work in Shanghai, and I would take the high-speed rail between Shanghai and Beijing quite frequently. That distance between the two is about 750 miles, and that would take around 4.5 hours high speed. I went back to New York, it would have been like 2018, 2019, just to visit family and friends, and I took the Acela Express, the fastest train in the United States, between New York City and Boston. That is 217 miles. That took me as long as it takes to go between Shanghai and Beijing, which again is 750 miles, so more than 3 times the length. So that's the difference between regular rail and high-speed rail, and definitely high-speed rail is something the United States can do and should do.
China is building the largest hydroelectric project on Earth in Tibet. But why is India so nervous? Let's break it down in 3 points. What's happening, what it matters, and what's really behind the panic. Point 1, what it is. It's called the Yarossampo Hydropower Project, a 1.2 trillion yuan mega dam, 12 years to build, with a 2,500-meter drop, deeper than the Three Gorges, more powerful than any dam in history. It's not just big, it's an engineering legend in the making. Part 2, why is China doing it? 2 reasons: green energy and regional development. China wants to reach carbon neutrality by 2060, and this clean hydropower will help reduce coal reliance. Plus, Tibet's economy needs infrastructure. This project brings roads, jobs, and electricity to remote areas. Point 3. So why the panic? Some Indian media claim China might control the water. But let's be honest, India itself has built dams affecting Pakistan's rivers. They assume China will do the same because that's what they've done. But China's record shows the opposite. When building dams on the Langtang Upper Mekong, it shared water data, reduced flooding, and cooperated with downstream countries. It's called upstream responsibility. So sometimes panic says more about you than your neighbor.
To understand how China became the world's construction powerhouse, you have to go back 40 years. In the 1980s, China was still a developing nation. Limited roads, poor logistics, and few modern cities. But then came a national awakening. The leadership realized that infrastructure was the foundation of prosperity. China didn't just start building. It started planning decades ahead. It wasn't about creating isolated projects, but an entire interconnected system. Roads linked to ports, ports linked to factories, and factories linked to global trade routes. Every bridge, airport, and subway line became part of a master blueprint for national transformation. I remember reading about how, in just 2 decades, China built more infrastructure than America did in the entire 20th century. It's staggering. And it wasn't luck, it was strategy. China's approach was rooted in long-term thinking, centralized coordination, and an unshakable focus on execution. Every megaproject wasn't just a symbol of national pride, it was a statement. We refuse to wait for the future. We'll build it ourselves.
You may have heard about the Great Wall of China, but have you heard about the Great Green Wall of China? Well, I'll tell you more. In 1978, China started a large tree planting project, and it's officially called the Tree North Shelter Belt. And you're probably wondering, why did China start this project? Well, simply because the Gobi Desert was expanding, and as well as the Taklamakan Desert over there on the other side. It's basically moving south. It brings these massive dust storms as well. Here's an example of the dust storms, but I'll show you what it looks like when it reaches Beijing. And then over in Beijing, they'd have to frequently basically deal with these massive dust storms, which basically is bad for air pollution. You can't breathe, you can't see things, and dust gets in your eye and stuff. But the larger issue was the loss of soil and drought. Basically because the wind, it blows the dust onto the farmland, and then it kind of strips away the top layer of soil. It also blocks the sunlight, so it doesn't get any nutrients either from the sunlight. This is very difficult for farmers, and then ultimately less food is produced. But if you take a look at the map again, this is about 27% of land. So it's a massive space that this bloody desert takes. And the government basically had no choice but to stop the spread. So what they're trying to do, they started planting trees, and lots of them, to try and make a green barrier to stop the desert crossing over. And the initial goal was to finish within 50 years, so by 2028, but they made a mistake, and their new goal is to now finish in 2050, and I'll tell you what the mistake is. So back when they started, they basically just planted the same tree again and again and again, which wasn't very effective because this made the forest weak. And unfortunately in 2000, a disease ravaged through, killed all the poplar trees, 1 billion in total, and this set them back 20 years. They also had water shortages because fast-growing trees need a lot of water as well. Some trees also just died and they had to be replanted every 3 years. And because they only planted one type of tree, there were less birds, less plants, biodiversity in general. And so the forests that they were planting were less useful to the actual ecosystem. So what did they learn? They started to plant native trees instead of the fast-growing trees. And they decided to make use of the land in other ways by adding solar panels. And this did 2 things. Of course, you've got the solar generation, but the solar panels also blocked wind and helped trap moisture. And they focused overall on quality versus quantity. They put better trees in strategic locations. As you can see, China's project is still ongoing, and it's set to be completed in 2050, if there isn't any other mass sort of wipeout of trees. But China's lessons are being learnt by the rest of the world, because Africa has also started its own Green Wall initiative. And you can see this stretches all the way from Senegal, all the way down to Djibouti. And they're learning from China's mistake, with China's help, of course. Well, the first thing is they're respecting the biodiversity, so they're planting native trees. They're using local plants that need less water. They're also harvesting rainwater when it does land. And here's a charity which regularly posts about the progress that they're making. And hopefully they can make fast progress with this, because over 45% of Africa's land is affected compared to just 20% of China's. Everyone knows that the Sahara is huge.
Holy shit. a one-of-a-kind marvel that has set the world on fire. China's extravagant dream project with a whopping price tag of $79.8 billion has taken the world by storm. Once completed, it claimed the coveted title of the world's foremost wonder, the Beijing-Daxing International Airport. Countless people couldn't believe their eyes when they saw it. This airport sprawls over a massive 41,000 acres, equivalent to 63 Tiananmen squares. Unlike your ordinary airports, Daxing boasts a staggering 268 aircraft parking spots. It's estimated to serve a mind-boggling 100 million passengers annually, with 82 boarding gates. Remarkably, no matter which gate you're at, you won't spend more than 8 minutes from check-in to boarding. But wait, there's more. Daxing Airport is the world's first airport where high-speed trains run beneath it. 6 railway lines crisscross the entire airport, connecting Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei within just an hour. Inside the airport, you'll find double-deck departure bridges. Think of it as putting a train station inside an airport. Such daring and visionary ideas could perhaps only come from China, a country known for its groundbreaking infrastructure. Curious about the airport's high-tech features? Stay tuned and keep exploring with us. Join us as we uncover more about the incredible technological marvel that is Beijing Daxing International Airport.
The speed at which China builds isn't a coincidence. It's a science. The country has mastered modular construction, prefabrication, and mass coordination at a level that the rest of the world can only dream of. Take the Beijing Daxing International Airport, nicknamed the Starfish. It was built in just 5 years, an airport so massive it covers over 700,000 square meters. Compare that to Berlin's Brandenburg Airport, which took 14 years and billions over budget. The difference lies in China's ability to centralize decision-making and streamline approvals. In the US, a single environmental review or community debate can delay a project for a decade. In China, a project can move from approval to construction in weeks. And it's not just about government speed. Chinese companies have perfected 24-hour construction cycles. Workers rotate shifts around the clock, supported by AI-driven logistics and digital project management systems.
I don't want to wrap it in, but I'm just saying at some point, California needs to look back at who helped last time build a railway successfully. And maybe it's time to ask for Chinese help again.
I'm in the new Beijing Daxing International Airport, which is absolutely gigantic, as you can see. And I just found the information desk behind me, which told me which gate I'm going to, which is E98. So I need to walk in that direction for quite a while. They said it's about a 15-minute walk to get down there. Yeah, it's just obviously a gigantic airport. It's one of the largest in the world. I think they started building this in 2016. I have no idea when it was finished, only recently. It's the first time I've been to this one. Yeah, it's just absolutely huge. It's sort of shaped like an octopus, but like six different parts. And so I'm about to walk down the E part all the way down there.
Now, let's talk about the uncomfortable truth. Why the West, especially America, can't keep up. In the US, megaprojects are often announced with huge media buzz, but rarely finished on time. The California high-speed rail project, for example, has been in development for over 15 years, with costs ballooning from $33 billion to over $128 billion. And still, it's nowhere near complete. The reason? Bureaucracy, politics, and fragmentation. Every project requires layers of local, state, and federal approval. Environmental reviews take years. Lawsuits from private landowners can freeze progress indefinitely. By the time the project finally breaks ground, inflation and politics have changed everything. Meanwhile, China doesn't rely on dozens of competing agencies. It relies on unified command and clear direction. The government identifies a goal, mobilizes resources, and delivers results. And it's not about cutting corners. China enforces strict safety and engineering standards, but it does so efficiently, without the bureaucratic red tape that strangles progress elsewhere. This is why America's Build Back Better plans often fall flat, while China is already unveiling its next generation of megacities.
Why does China build everything so fast? Like, how can they do that? Well, guys, it's not luck because everything is planned. China has something called a 5-year plan. So it's basically a 5-year to-do list. So it's more like a long-term strategy that spans over 5 years. And the next plan is being decided right now in Beijing. So this Monday to Thursday, China's top party leaders are gathering, crafting the 15th 5-year plan. So that spans from 2026 to 2030. It's the playbook for what gets built, founded, and prioritized for the next 5 years. And it's a gathering of the opinion from experts, from scholars, from politicians, and of course the mass public. To have a clearer idea of how it works, let's compare the two previous 5-year plans, which is the 13th and the 14th. So the 13th 5-year plan from 2016 to 2020 was all about China being the world's factory. That means it's still export-led growth. It has something called Internet Plus, which means upgrading the existing technology, but less about innovation. It's about what they have already got. And still they focus a lot on the GDP target. But then when we turn into the 14th 5-year plan, which is from 2020 to 2025, the key focus was on dual circulation. That means grow the home market within China while staying global. That means more self-dependence. And then they say quality over speed. So it's like they're saying, okay, we're not obsessed with the GDP number anymore. We have something bigger to care about. They made big bets on core technologies like AI, quantum computing, and chips. They shifted from just making things for the world to building up their own technology, their own market first. So quality over speed. So that's the reason why you've seen the EV boom and record solar and wind build-outs and huge chip and AI investment because it's planning with budgets behind it. And now we're turning to the 5th 5-year plan. It's very likely that push for high quality development again. So it's modernizing the entire industry, deeper reforms, tech self-reliance, while balancing growth with securities. But what are the biggest challenges? Property crisis is still very serious in China, and also we have aging population, the pressure from the United States. So guys, if you run a country like China, what would be in your 5-year plan? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
I'm 2,000 kilometers away from the nearest ocean, but here in the small county in the mountains of Xinjiang called Nileke, there's an ocean of a different kind. An ocean of solar panels, 5.7 million of them. The size of this project is unfathomable. There are solar panels as far as the eye can see and then some, covering an area as big as the city of Paris. They're stretching to the hills behind me and the hills behind them and the hills behind them, all the way to the horizon. The farm is capable upon completion of generating 8 billion kilowatt hours of electricity each year. That's enough to power all the houses in Singapore for an entire 12 months using nothing but sunlight and wind. But this isn't just about energy because these panels slow down the wind. And mind you, the wind here can be super strong. I mean, just look at the crazy hair. Hold in moisture and help grass grow back. Here, it also means extra income, $280,000 according to estimates. Nearby farmers have worked on the construction of this industrial farm, are leasing their land to the project, and continue to raise animals under the panels. It's a model that allows the land to produce both power and pasture. I tell you, these sheep are very pricey. I've been following them the entirety of the morning, but they're just not cooperating and they don't want to be on camera, so they're always running away. But come back! Come back! China's green push has seen it become the world's biggest supplier and installer of clean energy technology. 74% of all solar and wind projects under construction right now are in China. And within China, Xinjiang leads the way with the largest operational solar farms because of its wide open spaces and long daylight hours. It's energy, ecology, and economy all in one place. And it's one of these inspiring stories about Xinjiang that don't get much attention outside of China. But really, the progress here is as bright as the sun shining above me.
So how does China sustain such a massive pace of development? The secret lies in a few key strategies, and they're not as mysterious as they seem. First, standardization. China designs its projects with modular systems that can be replicated nationwide. A subway tunnel in Chengdu can be built using the same blueprint as one in Shenzhen. That saves time, cost, and complexity. Second, state-owned enterprises, SOEs, act as engines of scale. These giants have the resources, labor, and expertise to handle multiple megaprojects simultaneously. They don't rely on private investors who might back out halfway. They rely on national commitment. Third, technology integration. China uses AI, drones, and 3D printing to manage construction sites in real time. Problems that would take months to detect in other countries are solved in days. And finally, visionary planning. China doesn't just build for population. It builds for future capacity. Many of its highways, airports, and subway lines were designed to handle traffic levels decades into the future. This combination, foresight, unity, and technology, creates what I'd call institutional velocity. China doesn't just move fast. It moves with direction.
China built the world's tallest bridge in under 4 years. You see this shit right here? That's a restaurant. There's a fucking restaurant on this. 2,051 feet tall. How much would you think that would cost in American dollars? Couple billion, right? They did it for under 400 mil. Yeah. We don't have infrastructure projects here in the US. You know what we have? The same fucking street where I grew up is still under construction 5 years later. Just paving it over and putting down new pipes. It's been at least 5 years now. Every time I go home, it's still there. We do not have central planning in this country. We do not have the public will to build shit like this. Because it would make some old people mad. They wouldn't want to deal with the noise. And what about their private property that's 3,000 feet away from it? Like, we are very much capable of doing that as a society. We just choose not to. All of our tax money goes toward bombs and planting military bases in countries around the world. China's taxpayer dollars get spent on cool stuff like that.
This is one of the greatest failures of American physics, which is probably dramatic, but there is a $21 billion worth hole in Waxahachie, Texas, that was supposed to be the site of the world's largest particle accelerator, the superconducting super collider. It's a crazy story of how the world's largest particle accelerator project was just like abandoned. So they spent $2 billion building it, digging the hole, got like 14 miles worth, and then just had to stop. So the hole's still there. It's called the Desertron, which is perfect for a failed superconducting super collider that was deserted. It was supposed to be over 55 miles long or something. They made it 14 miles in, and the 2,000 people working on it, 200 of which were scientists who had spent their life building up to this moment, had just stopped. They had to stop. They called off the project because they started seeing a bunch of numbers, a countdown in their eyes. Not actually, it was really just Congress's fault, because Congress refused to keep funding the project because they're like, oh wait, it's actually going to cost even more than this. After they had spent $2 billion, they're like, oh man, we're gonna have to spend like $12 billion more, and we already got one science project going on, that's too much. They were working on the International Space Station at the same time, you know, space race vibes. So they couldn't commit to two. Overcommitment issues. So they called it off. Too much science. The largest particle accelerator in the world right now, the LHC, is in Switzerland. This would have been game-changing. There was a whole defund superconducting super collider project, or they wanted to, you know, decelerate it. And it worked. They stopped. The aliens won. The project was officially suspended in 1993, and they just filled the hole, the 14 miles worth, with water. From the outside, it looks like just an office park, but inside that building are portals to the underworld, or just drowned tunnels.
China's success isn't just China's story anymore. It's the world's lesson book. Countries from Africa to Latin America are now partnering with Chinese firms to replicate the same development model. But here's the part that often gets misunderstood. China isn't just exporting infrastructure. It's exporting efficiency. The world can learn from China's long-term planning, data-driven decision-making, and its commitment to continuity, building for decades, not election cycles. America, in particular, can learn that progress doesn't happen through debate alone. It happens through direction, collaboration, and boldness. The same nation that built the Hoover Dam and the Transcontinental Railroad can do it again, but only if it remembers that innovation is born from action, not argument.
It's gotta feel good to be Chinese right now. Like, they've gotta feel exactly as good as it feels bad to be an American with a functioning brain right now. They are like on the exact opposite trajectory as the United States. Like, we've just been on this rapid decline my entire life, and then they've been on this upswing for the entire time as well. Like, if I could have chosen to be born anywhere in the world, it would have been China. Back in the 80s when I was born, it probably wouldn't have been great, but my entire life would have been my country improving and getting better, whereas as it's been here, my country's just been getting worse and worse. Like, literally, they are winning on everything. Their economy's the best, their government is the best. They're working for their citizens rather than for corporations like it is in the United States. They have, like, universal home ownership. Everyone has savings. They have retirement at like 58. They've got everything that they need to survive. We don't even have national health care or a living wage here. We have homelessness. In allegedly the richest country in the world, they've eradicated homelessness essentially. And the rest of the world actually likes them. They use the Belt and Road Initiative, like kind soft power, to build relationships overseas where the United States just invades anyone and bullies people economically. I'll take that over this, let me tell you.
Making Chinese engineers just stabilize the Hyperloop. You know, the super fast transportation technology that the US gave up on because Musk couldn't deliver. One of the major problems with Hyperloop technology is that it can be extremely dangerous to passengers. Hyperloop trains can violently shake and vibrate at high speeds, and any small imperfection in the track makes those vibrations much worse. And these aren't just simple shakes. The vibrations are so bad that Hyperloop travel was seen as completely not feasible for human beings. But that's where China's breakthrough comes in. Chinese engineers found a way to reduce the intensity of these violent tremors on the Hyperloop by half, making travel actually feasible and even potentially comfortable for human beings. Again, stabilizing the Hyperloop has been one of the greatest challenges to its use. Because there is no contact between the train and the rail, electromagnetic forces can make the train shake really violently and in unpredictable ways. So kudos to the Chinese engineers who came up with a way to reduce this severe turbulence. And to Musk for all his false promises.
China's mega projects aren't miracles. They're the result of vision, willpower, and unity. 3 things any nation could have, but few truly commit to. As the rest of the world struggles with indecision and stagnation, China keeps pushing forward. One bridge, one city, one innovation at a time. Maybe the real question isn't how China builds so fast. Maybe it's why others stopped believing they could. Because progress doesn't wait for permission. It's built by those who dare to imagine, and then make it real.